Good there.
Live, and it's Christmas.
Good.
Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you are
Merry Christmas.
the holiday, hopefully with your loved ones. Hopefully you're staying safe. I'm glad that we get to hang out on Christmas.
I was going to say, and if you're not with your loved ones, as some of us can't be, I cannot be. I'm on the other side of the country as mine, so that is why we're here. So I'm glad that you chose to come hang out with us.
You're hanging out with loved ones, the Merri Hour community.
Exactly. It's a whole big family here. I realized my microphone was very far away. I'm sorry if that was soft.
Did your folks send you anything for the holiday?
Yeah, it was a very nice. We were having a conversation of like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't want anything. Don't worry about it. But they know I'm trying to buy like a few things that I might want for my apartment. So my mom literally drew pictures of what I should spend the money they sent me on. So it was very, very nice.
Okay, I like that.
And then, so if I want to show anything off, I did get a very nice package from Amelia.
Oh.
That is the NECA Gremlin, Ultimate Gremlin. And he's posable, and I of course I'm getting the huge glare from my ring lights, but yeah. I got all the movie themed accoutrements.
That's
cool. So that's my happy little piece. What'd you get? What was your big things for?
I mean, like, we celebrate Hanukkah, so we didn't go crazy, but we have our Hanukkah bush, so I at least bought a gift for every member of the household and put it under the tree. But it's like, it's like junky kind of stuff. Like I went all out for Hanukkah.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. That's what you should be doing.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Also, wait, Christy saw the shirt, so it's festive Mars Attacks. It's not only Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks, impersonating Santa, riding reindeer, taking over the world. So
all of my
still on point.
All of my festive shirts are in LA, so I put on this red sweatshirt because it felt like green and red, but I didn't have a good green shirt to wear underneath it.
So I forgot if I wore my silent. I knew I wore the one long sleeve Silent Night, Deadly Night shirt with Punish and the axe on the X this, but I didn't. I got another one. Which is the regular baseball tee and like the more colorful design. And I forgot if I wore it or not. So I'm like, I'll go with Mars Attacks to play it safe, but I have something planned for Power Hour too. I have a change.
We're doing a wardrobe change.
Of course. We got to bring the tanks in here at some point. We got to go sleeveless at some point.
Maybe I'll take off the red hoodie and go get the green hoodie.
And then you can post a picture later.
Maybe I'll even wear both hoodies. I'd have like green and red fuzzies all over me. This is a fairly new sweatshirt, so this poor white t-shirt's going to turn red by the end of this.
Also, because it's a holiday, I went all out and I got my I love Kettle One, and I got Kettle One lemon instead of my it's Kettle.
Okay, very nice. I went all out for the holiday too, and I got this wonderful Belgian white.
You couldn't have even gotten like the festive. Come on, something festive.
I do have festive stuff because award season, we get bottles of liquor in the mail. Yeah. I do have a really good bottle of bourbon downstairs, but I want it.
One more thing I did get, which I will show off very quickly because it's right here. I ordered a bunch of things that just showed up around Christmas, and I actually got a package today. And do you know BJ Colangelo?
Say that again.
BJ Colangelo.
Probably not.
Yeah. She a horror writer just in our community. We had her on the podcast. She wrote for us too. Great, super knowledgeable. And her wife, bartender, and of course bartending right now is not great. There's a lot of things along with it, with bars being closed and also the dangers of it. So to help her area, and I think Chicago for right now, but basically the bar, it's called Side Quest Bar, and they put together a year of queer cocktails, and it's just an entire cocktail book written by Harmony, and there's so many good cocktails in here. But like specifically, I opened this and I'm so mad I got it today, because if I got it a little earlier, I would have made one of like the 4 or 5 holiday cocktails I'm trying to get to right now. But like, yeah, there's like 3 holiday cocktails in here. I'm so like, I just want all of that.
Oh shit!
I just want like a little eggnog cinnamon cocktail. Like, yeah.
That's your kind of drink.
Yeah. So for tomorrow, I'm very excited to try one of these.
Okay. Next week I should probably put the Blue Moon away and at least go for the Prosecco.
Oh, I will gladly drink a bottle of Prosecco with you.
All right. I'm gonna make a point to actually follow through on that time.
Come on, yeah.
It's been a little too long, and also the bottle cap mug at this point is like not accepting any more bottle caps. So
I got to get back to the bottle caps. I think, yeah, I think that's. I'm doing the tabs on these, and like beers too. I was doing tabs, and it's not filling as quickly as I wanted to.
I think there's a small handful of tabs in my cup from when I got the Tavor.
The Tavor, yeah.
Well, it's going to be a weird thing to have in my suitcase when it goes through security on the way back.
All you gotta do is put them in a plastic bag so they don't jangle around. You're fine.
I'm bringing them.
You have to. Well, I don't know what we're doing with them, but we'll do something with them.
We're gonna figure out something. I think we should build another beer pong table.
That beer pong table that Perri is referencing, we're not building that. It was like a frat house beer pong table that took so long to put the caps towards.
It was so cool, though. Roughly how many caps do you think is required?
Literally a college career's worth of drinking. Because this was like an 8-foot table. It wasn't even like a 6-foot beer pong table. It was like an 8-foot beer pong table that we had designed the middle to be like an American flag and all these other things. So like the caps were color coded. Like everything had their place.
Fine. That's a whole like college worth of beer caps. Though sounds like a bit much.
All right, it's a lot. I agree. I'm not want to say how much we drank in college. In any case, we have things to talk about.
We do. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to tell you guys our favorite movies of the year. Some of you might have read my list out and about, so I am going to keep my bit short and sweet unless Matt has anything to add with those movies, but I'm very curious to know what made the cut for you. I have guesses. I feel like I know.
I know you have guesses. So the funny thing with mine is like I keep doing the catch up of award season, we'll call it, and I keep watching all the screeners that show up to me. Like yesterday I got One Night in Miami. And it wasn't, not that it wasn't on my radar, but like it wasn't on my list at all because I hadn't had a chance to see it yet. Then I watch it yesterday and all of a sudden I'm kind of like, well, crap, I have to like literally rethink my entire top 10 again. And yeah, I feel like the list I say right now is going to be different than the one even next week for me.
I had this conversation with Haley because there's nothing wrong with that. It's like not only is it a moving goalpost in terms of like it's just not possible to see every movie that comes out in a single year. Yeah. You can change as you add more, but on top of that, it's also a situation where a couple of years from now, even maybe a couple weeks or months from now, you might have a slightly different taste. And maybe things will switch spots, and that's fine. The point is, it's like a little time capsule for that moment that you announce the list. That's how you felt at that moment.
It is, and it's like I just put my list in for the Hollywood Critics Association. Like they're posting lists right now, so like I put mine in a few days ago for that. A few days before that, I had to do the IndieWire Critics poll that you probably did too, and it's like that list was so different from the one those few days. And I still have my top 10 hitting what to watch. And that list is going to be vastly different from the ones that, like, it's just so funny how they're, like you just said, they're time capsules, but it's such a short amount of time.
I know. It's stressful, but I will go first here. And I'll tell you guys that my number 10 of 2020 is Hamilton. And I know it's not a traditional movie, but it is a very well captured version of the stage production. But more importantly, why it made the list is one, because I know I'm late to the game on this because I never saw Hamilton because I couldn't get tickets, but the show is friggin' phenomenal. And so is the music. I can't stop listening to the music, but also it's just one of my favorite memories of 2020 because it's the only movie that everybody who lives in my house just sat in the room and watched together from start to finish. Like nobody fell asleep. Nobody got up and left. We were all there from beginning to end and we all loved it. And that's a big part of the reason why I cracked the top 10.
No, that makes perfect sense. And just as you said, I never got to see it on Broadway. And I'm not saying I mean, I love musicals to film when it's done cinematically and all these things. I got nervous when I heard Hamilton was just a recording of the stage show. Mm-hmm. And of course, I know people do that for stand-up specials, but I feel like it's different for a theater experience. And I was nervous about that going in, and I was completely gripped by Hamilton the entire way. I'm not going to say whether or not it made my top 10, but I will say I did not feel the length of the film, and I was very engrossed by everything that captivated all my friends as well.
there's something really cool. Like, I know nothing compares to seeing a show like that performed live right before your eyes with a crowd all around you. But there is like a special unique touch when you watch a recording like that, where you have so much access to the actor's face, where you get to soak in like nuance that maybe you couldn't access if, you were in one of the last rows of the theater.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. Whoever directed the actual recording of the stage production, you were up close and personal, just like you said. You got all these views that you never would have gotten. It for what it was, and for how I went into it a little nervous. None of that played.
Okay, good. I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm curious now if it made your list somewhere else.
I'm not saying. You'll find out soon enough, Perri.
What's your 10? What's your 10?
Oh, we're jumping back and forth. Got it. My 10, I keep talking about this movie on this podcast, and our live stream, but my number 10 is legit After Midnight. It cracked my, I'm going to tell you up front, I didn't load my top 10 with horror, and that's not because I tried not to. It's just how things like shook out. But honest to God, After Midnight is my top 10 of the year. I still go back to Jeremy Gardner, wrote, directed, also starred, did everything on this. And romantic creature dramedy. It's just this hybrid of all these genres. And when you're working with that many elements, I feel like none of them should work. I feel like you have to sacrifice one for the other, whether the creature's lacking or whether the romantic elements don't come through. But After Midnight doesn't sacrifice anything. And it's just tremendously acted and tremendously heartfelt. And again, it's one of those passion project films that you watch and you feel the passion coming from the filmmaker. There are many films, Mank being one of them, where that's a passion project. I get Mank being a passion project, but it was more an appreciation where everything in After Midnight is just the filmmaker bearing their soul and also playing that part and just letting it out. And then in comes Brea Grant as a tremendous additive to the film, we'll say. And I love it. I love it for every aspect. And the Lisa Loeb karaoke scene at the end is still one of my favorite scenes in cinema this year.
Brea Grant's having a nice year.
She's having a great year.
Between that and 12-Hour Shift, which is a lot of fun.
I 12-Hour Shift was a blast. That was a good, like, Southern fried kind of midnighter.
Do you know what I put the finishing touches on just before we started here? That movie montage that I pour an absurd amount of hours into. But it's just like every single time someone brings up a movie now, my mind immediately goes to that shot. And I very specifically know the 12-hour shift shot that I used. And I feel like everybody out there is going to, like, if you go watch the trailer, I bet you anything half of you could guess which shot I chose. But also because you've emphasized After Midnight so much, that has a very good little bit in it. And it's like one of my favorite parts of the whole montage.
Yeah, and Sebastian in the comments saying the Gardner's The Battery. Yeah, if you liked, I think honestly, I think there's more heart in After Midnight than The Battery. But those looking for a little micro budget zombie film, The Battery is also a great watch. It's a pitcher and a catcher who just get caught in the apocalypse, and it's just like their road trip through.
When did The Battery come out?
Oh, that's years ago.
Yeah.
That's got to be early 2010s.
Because I know I saw it, and I can't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, because that's the kind of film it is. It's just two friends. It's a bro trip, but it's also zombies, and it's also them kind of advancing in their lives at the same time. It's great. It's great.
2012.
2012. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm also very surprised that you didn't go heavy on horror, because I think this year, and this wasn't intentional by any means, but I guess there are 5 of 10 that are clear-cut horror movies, and then after my discussion with Haley, we would let one other teeter into that genre category. So if I go by those rules, 6 of my 10 can fit into the horror genre.
I think you're whichever one you're saying is a teeterer. I think I have that too. I think I have that too.
I think you do also. That one excites me quite a bit. But now I'll just go for I guess kind of straightforward horror and tell you my number 9 is The Invisible Man. I had a feeling this one was going to go the distance when I first saw it in February. I'm still amazed by what Leigh Whannell wound up doing with that, because I know the Dark Universe kind of put a bad taste in our mouths regarding bringing back the classic Universal monsters, but talk about bringing back a classic character with, real purpose and a thoughtful spin on it, where it's not just bringing back a monster to the big screen, it's bringing back a monster in a way to highlight a really scary thing that too many people out there have gone through. And it is just wildly unnerving. And then on top of that, you get to watch Leigh Whannell grow as a director, because we saw how good he was when Upgrade came out, especially, I'm speaking specifically, I guess, now about the visual style and his use of the motion control camera. But the fact that he takes that style that I guess is kind of becoming his signature style, and he manages to morph it to best suit the Invisible Man story, that is what really impresses me.
What strikes me is I just fired off an offhanded tweet. I think it was like Friday morning or Thursday morning, and I was doing my best scares of the year, and all I tweeted was a picture of the restaurant scene where she's holding the knife at the end of it, and like, all I typed was still thinking about the restaurant scene in Invisible Man and how it commits to the murder in public, pins guilt on the film's victim, takes gaslighting to the extreme, and destroys the concept of safe spaces in a matter of seconds. And a testament to the way you said it's like The Invisible Man, the movie, stood the test of time for you this year. That is, by and large, the most engagement I've gotten on a tweet in I don't know how long. So like, the fact is everyone's remembering it. Like, it's still on everyone's mind. And listen, I'm not going to get into what a great study this would be in the comments of that, but I see a lot of female responses that really appreciate what Leigh Whannell did and say, wow, I can't believe they captured this, because this is a terrifying thing that many of us deal with. And how many dudes have come into my comments to make sure that I know that this scene doesn't make sense because there's no security cameras. Like, fuck off if you're going to come and try to pull that shit. Like, no. So yeah, it's a very important scene and a very important movie for that fucking reason.
Man, I can't leave this one also without applauding Elizabeth Moss. Have we spoken about Shirley?
I think when Shirley came out, because I think her performance is better in Shirley than The Invisible Man.
So do I think her performance. I feel like I'm like talking to Haley now too, because Haley and I have had a similar conversation. Because I
will happily be Haley. I can be Haley.
I first discovered the other day that I'm mildly obsessed with Shirley. I think Elizabeth Moss is delivering like A+ work in Invisible Man, and I still stand by another thing I said in February, that is worthy of being in consideration for getting a Best Actress nomination. And I wish that the Academy was more open to genre movies, and that was happening right now. But I will fully admit that the work she delivers in Shirley is like shockingly good.
It's that so movie. Good. Because Shirley depends way more on the performances and the psychological aspects, where Invisible Man, it's a haunted house. Like, Invisible Man is Upgrade meets Paranormal Activity in a way. Like that is how he pulls that off, and it's tremendous how Whannell pulls that off. But Shirley depends solely on her and Michael Stuhlbarg being these they've entrapped people, like they've kidnapped people in a way of their own free will, though, and you have to be good enough to play those parts to make that scenario work. And that's why it's more impressive, I think, because Shirley works, and it's because of those performances.
They are like doing a dance together the entire movie, but in the form of verbal sparring, and
yes,
it's borderline mesmerizing. We need to talk off air or in a spoiler video about our interpretations of the ending.
That's totally fine.
We have a super chat here. Lamont Smalls. Hello, friend. Merry Christmas to you. My favorite movies of 2020: Sonic the Hedgehog, my so-so of 2020, Birds of Prey, Scoob, Mulan. That's all. I appreciate you sharing this, Lamont. And for anyone else who wants to jump in and share your favorites and maybe your so-so movies of 2020, do let us know. I still need to watch Sonic.
Yo, Sonic's good.
I it's a lot of fun.
Sonic's good. I'm sorry. It's a good movie.
One of those festival time casualties for me. There's always 1 week worth of screenings every year that I wind up never catching up on because of Sundance. And it was, I think it was Sonic and Underwater, which I did eventually watch, but I haven't circled back for Sonic yet. But maybe I will.
Sonic
Maybe I
is
will, because
more
Lamar
fun.
really likes it.
I think Sonic does a very good job of being a video game movie. It toes the balance of just living in that world and also just being a little bit grounded, but not grounded at all. It's good.
Can I pull in one more comment before you give your 9?
Yes, absolutely.
Sal the 18 says Jungle Land. So this is a movie that I feel like is not getting talked about at all. I believe it's a Paramount release, if I'm correct, and it's great. It's man, how do I even describe it? It's kind of a boxing movie, but it's not really a boxing movie because it doesn't necessarily focus on the boxing. It's more about the relationship between these two brothers and a young woman that kind of has to come along for the ride with them, without getting into plot specifics here. But that's a very good one, and I feel like nobody actually saw it. It stars Jessica Barden, who I freaking love. You know who she is, right? End of the fucking world.
Then yes.
She's going to be huge. And then the two brothers are played by Charlie Hunnam and Jack O'Connell, and yet again, they're great. They're always great, but
they're always great. Yeah, that's fine.
The movie doesn't get the credit that it deserves. So yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Sal. Appreciate it. All right, Matt, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is where we're going to talk about that movie that you didn't know if it's horror or not, I think.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that my number 9 is Spontaneous.
Oh, no, never mind. We're not thinking of the same one.
We are. We are, because I had 2 options. But
okay. Well, Spontaneous definitely has, like, it's a genre mashup, but one of those genres is horror.
100%, because of those explosions are not very pleasant. But number 9, because I just didn't expect to be taken by this movie in any capacity the way that it did. It's a YA dystopian film where a random virus is making children explode, and it sounds like it could be. It sounds like the romance could ruin it, and it sounds like the horror fans won't appreciate it, or the drama fans won't appreciate it. And somehow it toes that line of having a meaningful relationship between kids still exist, and also have it be very, very traumatizing at the same time as the children are experiencing what they do. And like, parents are looking on, they don't know what to do. Catherine Langford is in the starring role, and she just crushes the identity of a child who is trying to find themselves out, but also doesn't even know if they'll like live to the next day. And it seems like a far stretch, but then they have the one scene we talked about last Merri Hour where it's straight up just a school shooting scene. And it's straight up just something that, unfortunately, before the pandemic was happening way too fucking often. And there's just a lot of emotions packed into this film. And the way that it navigates all of them is very, very, very open about it. So I was expecting this to be something dumb and throwaway, and it's kooky kids falling in love during the apocalypse. And it wasn't that. It was kind of really super deep, and it was really, really effective. And I still think about the closing monologue over and over, and it still hits me.
It's a little of everything, and the everything in it works.
Yeah, and again, it shouldn't work like that. After Midnight, same thing. All these hybrid films that you look at and you go, how did you balance everything? Because everyone tries it and can't do it, but my God, you've done it.
I'll just tell you that Spontaneous wound up in the number 6 spot on my list. And I actually have you to thank for that, Matt. I feel like the Catherine Langford Ladies Night wound up coinciding with you telling me about it, but I still think that you told me about it first. And I don't know, maybe that upped my interest in that episode of Ladies Night. But this movie, like, Brian freaking Duffield, I love his style. I love his voice. And I love that now I know his voice on paper can translate to the work he can do as a director. So bring on more movies for him. Bring on more opportunities for Catherine Langford to show her range. And let Charlie Plummer, let him do like whatever the fuck he wants. Because I feel like a big part of the reason why, and you know, admittedly, in most movies, the romance element is usually not what interests me most. That was a big part of the core, like of the heart of this movie. And I think it's because Charlie Plummer and Catherine Langford are so incredibly charming together. Like, I believed every ounce of what they had, those two characters, and I was rooting for it so hard.
And it is even the little details, because again, we talked about this on the spontaneous episode of the Merri Hour when we gave the review. And Rob Hubel just being that dad and being that guy who is sitting there watching his daughter trying to process everything in this movie. And it's such an amazing scene where she is playing bartender in her house, and her father is just sitting there going like, I know you need to process this trauma however the hell you have to, and if that means you're just gonna get hammered drunk in my house and I can watch over you, like it's such an important scene to show, because her breakdown could have been like Hollywood dramatic and all these other things. They could have taken that a different way, and this was just sloppy, messy, and honest the way that it should have been.
Oh, it's so good. I could watch that over and over again, and I probably have. All right, you want my number 8? I think my number 8 is on your list. Actually, I'm almost certain of it. Birds of Prey.
Nope.
Oh my God, it got bumped off. I know you're so high on Birds of Prey.
I liked it. I did.
This was another one that I saw earlier in the year, luckily in the theater, and I'll never forget coming out of the theater and just like buzzing so much, like on energy and the girl power of it all, that like you feel like you're floating. And I know not everybody out there loves Birds of Prey, and I feel like it didn't get the credit it deserved. If you think that Birds of Prey didn't work, I'm trying to remember some of the actual criticisms because when I posted my top 10 list on Collider, there was a lot of a lot of folks had something to say about Birds of Prey in particular. I believe maybe it was something along the lines of it was messy and stuff, but if messy is your criticism, I highly recommend going back and rewatching it, because that's a movie where I can understand maybe why you might think it's messy because of the way it jumps back and forth in time. But that web that they construct is kind of seamless. And also those action sequences are some of the best combat we've seen all year, whether you're talking about the actual, the coordination of it all and the blocking of it all, or just the way that it's captured and the pops of color and the visual flares that make it so specific to Birds of Prey and that style of movie. It's extremely well done from top to bottom. So if anyone out there hasn't seen Birds of Prey or thinks that maybe they didn't like it that much the first time around and you're open to giving it another shot, I recommend it. I'm not trying to force a change of opinion on you, but I'm as someone who has grown to appreciate it more and more with every single rewatch, I would just suggest giving it a shot.
Yeah, when you're talking about the action, I mean, the police sequence, it's colorful, it is energetic, there's so much vibrancy to both, honestly, the violence and also the cinematography. It's really, really well done. It's beautiful to look at. It's so good. Matthew Libatique, he's incredibly talented. There's a lot to that movie to like, and I did like it. But again, everyone has their complaints about it, and that's fine. I get it. It's all good. All right. That's the whole thing about movies. We're allowed to like what we like. I know. We're allowed to like the same things. We're allowed to disagree on some things, but we all have to be respectful of one another. Exactly. All right. Number 8. What's your 8? My number 8 is Minari. Yes. It came so close, because just so you know, in general, when I put together my top 10 of the year, usually most of the spots go to a movie that I can't get enough of, where I'm watching it over and over and over again. And I feel like because Minari is not necessarily something I want to watch nonstop, that's kind of why it got bumped down. But I mean, it's just barely out of my top 10. It's so good. It's one of those American movies that shows the America how it really is, It's about a Korean family who is just trying to live the American dream as they see it, and what they go through and the struggles and everything they bring in to just to try and just survive is just the way to say it. Stephen Yeun plays Jacob. He just wants to be a farmer of Korean produce, and his dream is just to supply that kind of taste of home to other Koreans in America. And that's all the movie's about. That's it. But when I say that, it's also has so much more, because it's about family and it's about refugees. It's about everything in this. And it just really hit me in a lot of ways. And the ways that I wasn't expecting it to hit me was the performances of 2 children and a grandmother, and the relationship, a child with a heart problem that could get worse, could get better, and he can't really like run around a lot, and he can't really do all the things that a child should do. But the grandmother brings out in him the best spirits, and there's so many wonderful scenes where the grandma is more of a child than he is. It's everything right here. It's just everything that weighs heavy on my heart.
There's a lot to love about that movie, but the evolution of the relationship between David and his grandmother is hands down one of the best parts. That it's another movie that just makes you feel like you're not watching somebody else's story, but you're actually stepping into their world. And that just speaks to Lee Isaac Chung's ability as a director, and just like that really light touch on the camera that almost makes you think you're watching a documentary and not a scripted narrative. And it's incredible. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And, you know, in a lot of the ways that I would praise Minari, I'm seeing a lot of similar themes in another one in my top 10, or at least as far as it addresses the American dream, or, you know, the more idealistic version of the American dream and how inaccessible that could really be.
Yeah. And then everyone, just because a lot of people are asking where they can see Minari, and I don't think it actually gets that release until
I could tell you. Hang tight one sec.
I think it's February 12th.
It might be. So it's, you know, it's a very confusing year with release dates. I did get a couple of comments on my top 5 and 10 regarding what is allowed to be on it. And the truth of the matter is movies like, you know, I'm trying not to spoil the rest of my list, but there are certain movies that did get limited digital or theatrical releases before the close of 2020 that technically will count as 2020 releases, but they're not getting actual theatrical releases where many people can see them until, you know, February. There's stuff at this point like The Father. I don't think The Mauritanian comes out until early next year. There's a lot of stuff like that. So I think we got to be a little more lenient with the rules than we usually are. And I know a lot of friends out there who do what we do are abiding by the award season window rule. And if something doesn't come out to qualify for award season, then they can't include it in their best of the year list. So, you know, unusual year, guys.
No, I was going to say, and looking it up, that's how Minari gets away with it, because it did a limited Oscar qualifying run beginning December 11th, which I'm sure was just putting it into 2 theaters and just making sure it was out there. And then it says a wider release is February 12th. So unfortunately, the larger public won't see it until February 12th. Fortunately for me and Perri, we're in Critics Guild, so, you know, we get the screeners, and I can't wait for everyone to see these movies. And, you know, I guess that's kind of how I justify it. It's like, I'm not going to leave it off because I want to talk about Minari and I want everyone to get excited for it. It sucks that everyone can't see it until then.
I think some studios are playing that game better than others. Like there's certain movies, like I'm going to bring this comment up again when we hit one of the movies that is an example of it.
Well then, so let's do this because we're already at 5:00. Let's keep going with our movies and we table that comment for when that movie comes out.
Minari was your 8, correct?
Yes. Minari.
Okay, I'm going to bring the comment right back. Promising Young Woman. So the example is, I kind of wish certain movies that are having their release dates pushed, like, let's say The Father, and maybe not The Mauritanian, because I believe that was a late entry period, but I wish some of those movies were doing things to make more noise now. It's like, even in Promising Young Woman's case, it's getting its theatrical release this week, and it feels like it's getting a decent amount of promotion for that. But then it's not going to be available for everyone else to watch until I don't even think they've selected a date, but it's going to be, you know, I would assume in January or early February, like all of these other movies. But the point is, what they're doing right now is building more buzz than, let's say, screening some of these movies for a select few people early in December as qualifying runs. Like, you're not getting the benefit of that. Like, that costs time, money, and resources. Why don't you make the absolute most of it and get that movie out to, like, at least a few more people?
And I think that plays into, too, why something like The Way Back, which I watched recently, like, I didn't watch it in March because I knew it was going to be an award season film that some people might talk about because of Affleck. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to save it for then. And I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, Ben Affleck. Like, where is he in the leading man conversation? Like, I know I'm sorry. I thought he belongs there. I thought he did a great job.
I think he's very, very good. And I think the movie is is good. Like in the middle, I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it, but I'd say it's like better than average kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you look at the folks that are likely to get Best Actor nominations, there are already not enough spots for people I want to force into that category.
No, I agree with you. But still, like, even in that sense, though, I feel like he's not even in the conversation anymore because it was a March release. And just like you said, it's like, you know, you came out in March. I don't know why, you know, you didn't do a push later now. Like, what happened there? So I don't know. It's yeah, like you want to be on the tail end of award season. You want to be pushing yourself right now. And, you know, I feel like some movies kind of gave up.
Well, it's also it's an unusual year because you need to figure out a different way to build that buzz. And building that buzz right now isn't the same tiered release strategy that was used last year, for example.
Last year. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. It's just a weird situation. But anyway, my number 7 is Promising Young Woman. This is the movie that I was referring to where Haley kind of nudged me into dubbing it a genre movie because, I mean, it's a form of horror, no doubt, but holy shit, I can't believe this is Emerald Fennell's feature directorial debut because, I mean, not only does she show the fact that she has a good understanding of what every single department needs to accomplish to make a movie, but this is the kind of movie that when you watch it, you feel her doing it all and being like the conductor of her orchestra with such confidence. And when that confidence oozes off the screen from a first-time director, I mean, who knows what she could be capable of down the road? And Carey freaking Mulligan. I don't want to take away from Carey Mulligan's past work, because yes, she has an Oscar nomination. Yes, she's been in many good films. This is on another level. This is the type of role where the character she's playing has this rage that needs to be shoved in your face every step of the way on her mission. But really, deep down, she's suffering from all this inner turmoil and this trauma and trying to manage her past. And her being able to accomplish both elements of those characters, of the character, and bring it together, that's what makes this movie so powerful. You needed a star who could do both of those things better than anyone. And I think it's pitch perfect casting here.
Yeah, you're beating me to the Promising Young Woman talk because I have it in 2 more spots. So I have a little higher than you do. I loved it. I thought it was.
Well, there you said you had it in 2 spots, and I'm like, wow, you really.
Oh no. Yeah, I took 2 spots for Promising Young Woman. I just wanted to make sure it was there twice. No. I was going to get to it eventually, but fuck that movie. I mean, everything about it and everything that. It's one of those movies that if you have a complaint about, and some of the complaints being said about it are very telling that you just don't understand what's going on. And, you know, it's not like really a revenge film. It's more along the lines of like, just getting some equality. Like that's like, there's a reason why people are saying like, oh, there's nothing special about this. Like, you know, this is the same kind of story that's been done before. And it's like, well, even if you're going with the done before part, there's a reason that Promising Young Woman came out and is so angry about that same problem still persisting. And that's because people have to keep making that same fucking movie so people can actually hear the fucking point. Like it is so infuriating, some of the stuff in there where it's a cycle movie and it's a cycle for a reason. Because this is a character basically saying no one is going to do anything about this problem, so I guess I'm the only fucking person that has to. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
I feel like you need movies like this in some cases to express the problem that we have more clearly and make people feel it with more urgency. And I'm not even just talking about that idea as it applies to Promising Young Woman. It's something that I've been thinking about with a lot of the things on my list. And you know how we're always talking about horror with purpose now? Like a horror movie that gets at a real horror that we actually deal with on the day-to-day. I feel like that's what it comes down to is you've got these like big picture problems that, you know, seem like monstrous and impossible to tackle. But when you confine it to like one story, one location, one character's experience, it becomes maybe not easier to process, but you could feel it more, if you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, the vibe of it is tremendous. It has so much attitude, it is so much frustration, and it should, and the performances all push that. And honestly, I think the male performances, they don't in any case take over, but there are some very good male performances for being as exaggerated as some people might want to call them, because they're not exaggerated. Those are real people. And like, it is like, the way I kind of started my review was by saying, as someone who grew up and whose formative years, kind of coincided with the rise of movies like American Pie and Road Trip and Euro Trip, like those movies kind of shaped a generation because there was no counterbalance. Like, I wish there was a movie like Promising Young Woman out at the same time, because that would have provided a much needed perspective that is coming so very late. Like, there's a reason why this movie would have been so much, like, it's so important now. It would have been so good to act as a cultural counterbalance when the movies that were shaping minds were the only thing coming out, and they were showing one specific way. It's
better late than never.
Absolutely better late than never. But again, there's a reason why some people might say, well, this is too angry. I don't want to. Why does she get to do this? And it's like, fuck you. If you're asking that, you've no fucking idea.
So angry, and I love it. What's your 7?
7. Swallow.
Hey. I'm all for it. Swallow is in my top 20.
Okay. Yep. No, it bumped up for me because the way that, I don't think it's better than Carey Mulligan's performance, but I think Haley Bennett gives one of my favorite actress performances of the year. And for those who don't know what Swallow is, it is about someone who looks very like they have it all on the surface. They have the loving husband, they have the big house, they have everything they could ask for, but they also have a problem with swallowing things, and they have a fixation with ingesting objects. And sure, it sounds weird at the front, but then as you get into Haley's life and you get into that person and you get into why she's doing it, and you realize it's the only thing that she has control over at this point in her life, it kind of falls in the same realm of like Promising Young Woman and Invisible Man. Like, those 3 films were very important for depicting a certain kind of problem where women just aren't treated fairly, where they are treated as lesser, and they are not allowed to have the same freedoms that, the other gender has. And I feel like Swallow is a really, really good thriller because it does come into these aspects of paranoia and imprisonment, and is the husband doing specific things to keep her where she is. I would want to watch in this order: Swallow, Invisible Man, and Promising Young Woman, because I feel like Swallow is the pre, Invisible Man is the current, and Promising Young Woman is the after. Yeesh. I feel like all 3 of those get the same through line and theme, and they all go in like kind of chronology. I do want to do that, and like, I'm curious as to write about it.
You should probably write that up.
Yeah, like seriously, I do want to do that one day and watch them all in a row. And
appropriate full feature you just laid out there. But yeah. Swallow's great. Swallow's great. You want to join Haley and I? We're the leaders of the Haley Bennett fan club.
I have a funny interview story about that, but I can do it.
Maybe not the Haley Bennett fan club, but let's restructure the group with the purpose of get Haley Bennett more of the roles that she deserves club. Yeah,
I agree with that. I'll tell you my story offline. I think I might have even told it here when
I want to know the story. I feel like I know the story.
Yeah.
The only story I can ever think of with you with interviews was the one that we did in the in that one office. Have you mentioned the name of that movie?
Affluenza.
I didn't want to name the movie for you and like call it.
Oh, I don't care. Yeah, Affluenza. Yeah, I can never interview Nicole Peltzer again. That's fine because she was a dum-dum and she didn't give any answers. Cool.
Yeah, I could still perfectly picture the seat that I was sitting in when you came out of the conference room.
Totally fine with that. I'm sorry if your actress couldn't string together more than one sentence. Not my problem.
All right, we got work to do. We can actually skip my 6 because my 6 was spontaneous.
Okay. So then we can do one better. We can skip my 6 because my 6 was Promising Young Woman.
Yeah. See,
so we can just speed right ahead.
You know what number 5 is?
No, because it's your list.
It's host.
It is host. Good.
I am obsessed with Host. I'm not going to tell you guys how many times I've watched Host since it came out in the summer, but you kind of know what we already think about it. This is
gone deep on Host.
An exceptionally well-made found footage type film, like period. But another reason why it absolutely had to be in my top 5 of 2020 is because this right here is an example of a filmmaker deciding to make the most of the situation right now and deliver a really great movie in the process. And just another applause to that cast. I am a very big believer that performance is important to all movies, but I don't think a shaky cam found footage movie can work, period, without performances that are 100% natural and believable. That format just can't tolerate anything otherwise. And that group of friends, super charming. And because they're so charming and likable, that makes the scares even scarier. The whole thing just works so well. Thank you, Rob Savage, for giving this to me in 2020.
Yeah, it's you can tell it was made by friends. You can tell it was made by people that were very gelled together already. So this was them having fun. We all worried at the beginning that people forcing a pandemic movie was going to be like, well, I don't want to watch a movie about what we're stuck in currently. And the way that Rob Savage succeeded was the same thing he told me when I interviewed him. He's like, I didn't make a pandemic movie. I didn't make a Zoom movie. He's like, I just made a movie based on my surroundings. And that was the perfect approach because, again, Songbird is a pandemic movie. And holy shit, that sucks. I don't want to watch that ever again because that's the antithesis of everything I want in a film right now. But Host is smart. Host took the screen life. So it's not even found footage, screen life, unfriended, all the cam to cam stuff like that. I agree. That's hard to pull off. You have now just put yourself to the limits of a window, like a TV, like a computer monitor. And that's hard. Like it's hard to sell scares. It's hard to do that stuff, but he remained genuine. He remained true to the rules of Zoom. He did everything. Like we were just sitting there looking at our laptops and we were stuck on that call and we couldn't turn it off.
He didn't even just stay true to the rules of Zoom. He used the rules of Zoom to the story's benefit. And then on top of that, one of the coolest things, I know we're all itching to get back into a movie theater, but he made a movie that was meant to be watched at home, maybe on a laptop, the same laptop that you take Zoom calls on. So when I finished that movie and opened up my Zoom call, you know what I was looking around the frame thinking about? Host.
Demons.
Job well done. And like literally every single time we do Merri Hour and we have a glitch, what do we say? We say unfriended or Host.
Or it's Laura Barnes or Host.
Yep.
Either it's Jacob or what is Jake, I think, in the...
Oh, I was talking about the medium.
Oh, no, not the medium. Yeah, the ghost itself in Host. Its name is like Jacob or something.
Oh my God. She makes up the story about.
Right.
Is it Jacob? I don't know if Jacob's right.
I've done a lot of things. Right. I might have forgotten the name, but in any case, yes.
I feel like someone's going to tell us in the comments.
Yeah, someone's going to correct us. I'm fine with that. Somebody, what's the name of the ghost in Host? Somebody fix that.
I want to think about it. I can tell you like literally the entire story she tells about him too.
The unfriending of the host, Laura Barnes.
Oh God! All right, we need to make another dent here. I think we're up to your 5.
Yes, we're at my 5. It is going to be Sound of Metal.
Hey, that's a good choice. That's another one that is, I believe that fell in my top 20.
Yeah, it's I was really just into Riz Ahmed's performance. For those who don't know,
Jack. It wasn't
right.
Jack.
Okay, I got the J right. Give me some.
Drive me off my mind if I couldn't think of it.
I got the J right. In any case, Sound of Metal. For those who don't know, it is a movie about a heavy metal drummer who loses his hearing, and it's like one of my nightmares. Whenever we have those conversations with friends about like, oh, would you rather lose your eyesight or your hearing? Like I think I'm more scared to lose my hearing because as much as I love movies, as much as I love all those things, music would kill me if I could never hear music again. And that is what someone who is like a percussionist. So already you have a passion and a love for music, and you are told you can't do the thing you love, the thing that propels you. And the way Riz Ahmed kind of navigates that is at next level. He loses the hearing. He goes to a community that can help him. He does things in the community that might or might not actually benefit him because he's so focused on just fixing himself when there's nothing broken about him. He just can't hear anymore. And it's such a powerful message that comes through at the very end. And Paul Rassi is so good as the community leader, just tremendously involved and tremendously good with propelling the narrative that, again, this is not a disability or anything. It is just something that defines you, and it's how you react to that. So I was very, very into Sound of Metal.
Yeah, this was part of the reason why I pushed back when you mentioned Ben Affleck for Best Actor, because right now, someone who's just, outside the likely pool of probable nominees is Riz Ahmed. And he really should be. Ben Affleck is very good in The Way Back. Riz Ahmed gives a career best and a truly exceptional performance this year, and he deserves to be.
Full agreement. There's no fight there. Yeah.
The whole movie's great too. I mean, this is another example of one that wouldn't have worked nearly as well if it weren't for stellar work from every single department. I mean, probably no surprise given the description of the movie, but the sound design in this is pretty impeccable because
and it's not for the reasons you think.
The sound design is pretty key to not only putting you in Riz's character's shoes and feeling at least a little bit of what he's going through, but also reminding you of what he doesn't have access to anymore as he processes his current situation and how he wants to move forward with his life.
Yeah. So easy pick for me.
All right. My number 4, I think it's on your list. His House.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. We can both do His House now. I've been obsessed with this movie since January when I caught it for its premiere at Sundance. And I think Matt and Haley also well knows, like, I have not shut up about this movie. I think it is a phenomenal feature directorial debut for Remy Weeks and a sure sign that he's going to do great things. And Shope Dorisu and Wumi Masaku are crazy good in this movie. I've blabbed about it enough. Throw out every good thing I could say about this movie, and I'll throw it out there to you all now.
We both have raved about this for far too long, and we will continue to. But for the purposes of this top recap, I think we could both say we both fucking love this movie. You know that we do. Go watch it.
It's on, in case anybody out there has not seen it yet, it is on Netflix, and it's another one of those movies that fits the descriptor that we brought up earlier of a genre movie, a horror movie that is scary entertainment all on its own while also getting at a scary truth that really does exist in our world. So do check it out. Where was His House on your list?
His House, I can tell you, was number Deuce.
Okay. That was
I had a number 2 for me.
All right. So what's your 4?
My number 4 is Get Duked.
Of course.
I can't tell you how much I adore this film because, as everyone knows, I'm more of the comedy horror guy. I'm more of the cynic, anything that's black humor, just the pitch black, just midnight humor. And Get Duked is all of that. It is every part of that in every wackadoo way. Also, I love British comedy. I love the British sense of witticisms, and Get Duked is that too. So those who don't know about it, it's just kids in the wilderness in the Highlands who have to survive, and they're not very good at it. And they just think they're kind of traversing the Highlands to get a medal, but they're not, because Eddie Izzard and his crew of senior citizens want to preserve the sanctity of the generations. And they do that by calling the herd, and they call the herd by murdering these children who go on these events. So it's a wild, it's just crazy scenario where a druggie, a aspiring DJ named DJ Beetroot, a dum-dum, and the homeschool kid have to fight these mask-wearing sociopathic elders. And I love it. I love it so much. Ninian Doft, he's a feature debut director. He did some music videos. It doesn't hinder him. It actually helps him in this scenario. It's off the bonkers wall crazy, and I love this movie and we'll keep yelling about it. Sorry.
I still got to get around to this. I missed it at South by when it was called Boys in the Wood, and I kept meaning to watch it. And I think the fine folks at Fonz PR even sent me a link, and I wasn't able to watch it for one reason or another, but I'll get there. Matt.
It's the party movie of 2020. That's the best way I can put it. I stack it right up there with like Attack the Block in terms of like British genre films. So
if it's anything like that, I'll love it.
Watch it.
All right. My number 3?
Yes.
The Platform.
Nice.
Yeah, I think everyone out there knows I've been obsessed with this movie since the
Shocking.
fall of 2019, and this movie, probably more so than anyone that we describe on this list, I think is a perfect example of that idea of this really big picture problem, that problem being the piss poor distribution of wealth we have in this country and in this world, and it being such a big problem that it's hard to wrap your head around it. And then all of a sudden you confine that problem to a single facility and watch how individuals operate in that kind of distribution of wealth structure. And it becomes so much more immediate, so much more immediately terrifying and disturbing and disgusting. I can't get enough of this. I still can't believe how well this whole thing comes together. And it's another one that's a feature directorial debut. I mean, talk about an ambitious first feature. The production design, the performances, everything that had to go into this thing in order to pull that concept off is still astonishing to me, even after countless rewatches.
Yeah, I ditto. It's not on my top 10. It's 100% in my horror tops. It is just brilliant for what it does. And it's brilliant for the way that it shows society at its worst. It shows how no one is willing to work together. It shows just everything it shows is vicious and vile. And they do it through food, which hooks me because I love a story that uses food the way that they do. So yes, very good. Dystopian, crazy, wild.
What's your 3?
My 3. I'm going to continue. I think this is our 4th feature debut in a row. I'm going to go with Babyteeth.
Shit, I need to watch Babyteeth. I was just watching for my montage the other day.
So Shannon Murphy.
The Scanlon one, right?
Yes, yeah. It's the Eliza Scanlon one. She plays Mila, who is seriously ill. Mila is still, going about her life as a child would. Falls in love with a drug dealer. Parents played by Essie Davis and Ben Mendelsohn. They, as any parents dealing with a sick child might, they don't know how to handle the scenario because it can get worse at any time. It can get better at any time. And if it's going to stay worse, why not let their child pursue possibly destructive choices because that might be the last choice she makes. And that's heavy and that's a lot. But the film is very honest and open and raw about that. It's super heavy too. It's not shying away from any of the scariness of the scenario. But all the performances are so complex and messy and truthful about the way it is. It's the same thing that goes back to Spontaneous in a way, where you just let these characters be themselves and you let them just navigate these scenarios as any one of us would, because there's no answer. There's no Hollywood ending, to quote Anna and the Apocalypse. So you just kind of live it and see what happens. And I think Babyteeth is a really, really good example of that.
It's a great pull quote. To quote Anna and the Apocalypse, put on a poster.
Right there. And again, feature debut from director Shannon Murphy. Shannon Murphy has also done a lot of television. Mm-hmm. So I think most recently a few episodes of Killing Eve. So it's not like she's, come out of nowhere. Like, she's an accomplished director in the television world. And this is her feature debut though. And it still is, it's got this kind of like jazz energy where it just keeps skipping around beat by beat. And it doesn't really have to keep up with itself because, again, it's just pieces and moments. Sorry.
You cooking something?
No, it's my laundry. It's pieces and moments.
Laundry.
This has happened so many times when we've been recording. I often do laundry. Who do you think I am? I'm not a monster.
You don't always clean your beer pong cups. I get it. Priorities.
Yeah, it's fine because I care about certain things in my hygiene. In any case, Babyteeth is good. Watch it. Fuck you.
I will watch Babyteeth. Okay. That's one of the best things about doing the montage too, is that's been the best way to remind myself of other things to watch. All right. We're at my number 2. Palm Springs. Here's another one that I'm obsessed with. And I can be obsessed with it because every single time I watch this movie, it evolves. And it gets at another thing that I'm experiencing. It's it doesn't matter what kind of rut you're in, whether it's a rut of steering away from potential relationships or the rut of 2020 and being confined to a house. Palm Springs, no matter what you're going through, can motivate you to get out there, share your life, seize the day, all that good positive stuff. And, literally every single time I've watched it since it premiered at Sundance in January, I've gotten something else from it. And I think all of these rewatches I've already had in a single year are a sure sign that this is a movie I could revisit at any point in my life and still pull something positive in that respect from it.
Yeah, I have nothing to add there because guess what my number 1 was?
Fuck
Yeah,
That
honestly,
so happy.
straight up my number one. It's probably the movie I've thought about most, I guess I would say. It's just the one that I keep going back to, and it's the one that I know this doesn't sound great for me, that I connect with the most of the year, just because everything is weird. Life is weird, and I don't know. I just really connect with the way that both of those characters think. And again, that might not be great for me to admit, but in the same respect, it's enlightening to see a film like that just put out there. And
if that's weird and not great, Matt, we're weird and not great together.
I know.
I also still have, like, I don't even know if you guys could see it. Hold on. It's my little Palm Springs beer.
Oh, is it the Palms? The Palm Springs cozy.
I'm gonna leave it there. I love it. Palm Springs is great. It's on Hulu. Everyone should watch it.
Yeah.
You still have a number 2 you owe us. Or is that his house?
Number 2 is, I'm done. His house is number 2 for me, and my number 1 was Palm Springs. So let's just jump to your number 1.
My number 1 is Nomadland. I am fascinated by this movie for so many reasons. I mean, just the way they capture that kind of lifestyle is interesting to me, because I didn't know much about it going into it. And they just show it in such a detailed manner where I think there's a bit of romanticizing it for the right reasons, but at the same time, they also don't shy away from the difficulties of living that kind of lifestyle. And the fact that, I don't know, even something like getting a flat tire, like, that's your home, that's your everything, that can ruin you, and it's scary and it's dangerous. So I just think that balance of it really gives you a firm understanding of somebody else's day-to-day that is so far from your own. And that's why I love movies. I mean, there's so many things in this world that I'm never going to get to experience if not for really good storytelling like this. And this is another one of those movies. And Chloe Zhao in general is a kind of filmmaker who just completely, like, swallows you whole in the world that she's bringing to screen, to the point that while you're watching the movie, you totally forget that you're watching a movie. This is also another one, going back to Minari, that basically turns the idea of the American dream on its head. If we have a country that's going to keep turning its back on you in that sense, then you know what? Big middle finger to you. I'm going to carve my own path. And the folks that live this modern day nomad lifestyle are essentially doing just that. And while they're going down that path, they're finding so much good in it. And this is just a movie that filled my heart. It's got that bittersweet touch to it, but it earned all the sweetness. And, you know, the darker or more challenging components only bolster that more. And it's just it's nice to get a movie that reminds you that there's not only one way to go about your life, and there's not only one form of success out there.
No, that's awesome, because I just got the screener for that one. So it's going to be either tomorrow or the day after. Like, legitimately, whenever I jump back into my screener watching, that's good. I feel like that might be another one that jostles around my top 10.
Can you text me as soon as you watch it?
I will gladly text you as soon as I watch it.
Yeah, AJ Post has it. Can't wait to see Nomadland as Love Javis, the writer. I don't love the writer because of the subject matter, and I find it hard to watch, but it's still a very, very good movie, and I know it. All right.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's my top 10.
Yeah. Those were our top 10 movies of 2020. A big thank you to all you guys for watching. We're going to wind down this particular live stream, but I'm going to do 2 things for you guys right now. I'm going to put 2 links in the live chat because Matt and I aren't done for the night. In fact, things are probably going to get a little crazy right now. This right here in the live chat is your link to the next live stream. It is a power hour, and because it's Christmas, we're doing all Christmas themed. Evan, we're doing all Christmas themed songs.
Evan.
Yeah, that should be number 1.
Top Patreon Perri supporter is Evan. I'm sorry, everyone.
Evan is Evan, keep an eye on the channel on Monday. I think you're going to like what drops on the channel on Monday, and there might be a shout out for you in it. All right. So that's the Power Hour live stream link is in the chat. And if you want to be extra prepared as we venture over there, I'm also going to give you the link to the actual Power Hour playlist so you could listen along. That is in there as well. All right, we are going to wind this down, but just in case anybody is, cutting out early tonight, thank you guys for everything. I mean, technically, this is our last episode of 2020, the year that Merri Hour was birthed. And I won't speak for Matt. I'll let you jump in a minute. But I feel like we both share the same sentiment that, like, this is a crazy, challenging, unusual year. And every single week, I look forward to Friday. And every single time I pop on the StreamYard with you and I see your face, Matt, and I see everyone in the chat and this community that keeps growing and growing, like my heart freaking feels like it's going to burst. This is like the most social setting I have. And I love the community that we have here. So big thanks to everybody out there for supporting the show. It is appreciated more than you know.
Ditto, because yes, everything Perri said, this has been huge for me. I mean, I've been by myself for so long. I've been stuck here in my apartment, and having something to look forward to every Friday that's not just going back to playing video games or watching a movie is like, it's such a relief. It just feels like a little bit of normalcy and something that has not been normal for a long time. So the welcome opening of just getting into this world and you allowing me into your little community, I appreciate it a lot. I feel the Evans of the world and the Lukes and the Christies and everyone's. I appreciate you all. So thank you very much.
All right, guys, we're out of here, but that's not the end. We'll see you over at Power Hour.